Hi friends, I'm Coley, this is Sweet Peaches Nutrition, and today I want to talk about kombucha. I know it's an acquired taste, but I love it and I love to make my own. And I want to share with you the science of how to make kombucha, what the heck is a SCOBY, and how you can make your own delicious flavors at home, if you're into that kind of thing.
Kombucha is a fermented tea drink. So basically, you start out with sweet tea, and then with the addition of a SCOBY, you get kombucha. And SCOBY actually stands for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And so the bacteria and yeast grow in this little gooey pancake like thing that will take the shape of the container you're growing it in, and they live symbiotically, making food for each other, and in the process, making kombucha to drink. And so lots of different species of bacteria and yeast can live in your SCOBY depending on the local environment, like who's making it. Lots of different things can affect the specific species, but overarching, it breaks down to bacteria, including Acetobacter and Gluconeacetobacter. And those bacteria like to live with yeast like Saccharomyces and Candida. And so the two of these work together in the little SCOBY pancake ecosystem that they've created. And so what that means is that inside the little SCOBY, we have different guys growing. We have some Acetobacters, little raw bacteria, and then we have our yeast cells, not to scale. And so when you brew your sweet tea and then you have sugar in this mixture, the yeast are able to kind of break up the sugar into, usually we're using table sugar, and so they're able to split the glucose and the fructose, and then the yeast can use that to make ethanol, which you may know as alcohol, and then the bacteria take that alcohol and will convert it into acetic acid or vinegar. And so by doing that, it lowers the pH, and then you get a delicious kombucha that is acidic. So I like to make my kombucha in mason jars just because that's what's available to me. So I kind of work in a smaller scale, and I'm brewing 3 cups of water with 2 tea bags. And so you want to let it steep for a while and make a pretty dark black tea. I always use black tea because I like black tea anyway, but you can also use green teas and other teas to make kombucha as well. And then for the 3 cups of tea, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. And remember, this sugar is food for the SCOBY, and it mostly will get converted, so your resulting drink won't taste sweet, but you have to add the sugar for your SCOBY to munch on. Okay, and so you can see now I have my tea, and this is my SCOBY, who is in about 1/4 cup of reserved kombucha from the last batch. And that reserved kombucha is important because it helps to start to acidify the kombucha as well as add more starter bacteria and yeast that are just living in the kombucha. And you can see what the SCOBY looks like, and I'm just going to dump that in to start the kombucha process. And then I just cover it and let it sit for about a week. It depends on the temperature of your house, so you have to check on it periodically because it might go quicker or slower depending on the temperature and your preference, if you want it to be sweeter or if you want it to be more acidic. So there's a lot of room to play around with what you prefer. And then I'm just going to throw them in my fermentation station, aka a area out of the way where they can ferment. And once your kombucha is where you like it, you will remove the SCOBY and reserve 1/4 cup of the kombucha for the next batch, and then you can move on to secondary fermentation, which involves adding any fruit, or herbs or any other flavor you want. So with the SCOBY gone, you add in the fruit, you cover it, you put a lid on it, and then you let it sit for a couple days more. And so what happens is that when you put that lid on, then any of the residual bacteria and yeast that are in your kombucha, along with the natural sugars from the berries or fruit or whatever you add, will begin a secondary fermentation process. But with the lid on, the gas that they produce will be trapped, and so you will get a slight carbonation to your kombucha, so it adds flavor and fizz.
You can see this one is like really fur on top. Usually if you have a lid on these jars, it'll have that little give to it, and you can see the bubbles. This one's pretty active, and you want to burp the jar so that it doesn't explode. And if you listen, that little hiss, and now I let the air out. You want to let it build up some fizz if you're into that, but just want to be careful that it's not doing too much. And these canning jars are meant to withstand a little bit of pressure and temperature change, but you do want to be careful, and you don't want to ferment in like cheap containers. Like even if it's like a cute little flip top thing from the dollar store, don't ferment in that. It will explode and it'll be dangerous. So jars or fermentation grade bottles. So if you're interested in trying kombucha out, it's really not that difficult. The hardest part might be acquiring a SCOBY or finding the plain kombucha to make your own. But honestly, when you're fermenting, just remember, things don't have to be sterile. You just want to be sanitary. You don't want to go to the bathroom and not wash your hands and make your kombucha. That would be gross, and you're going to introduce nasty things into your kombucha. But you don't need to like sterilize everything and such, because that's the whole point, is that the good bacteria are supposed to outcompete anything that's bad that might be in there. And it's pretty easy to tell if things have gone bad. If you see colorful things, you see green and pink growing on your SCOBY, throw it out, start over. If you see fuzzy things, throw it out, start over. If you open it and it has a very off-putting smell, throw it out. I always live by the when in doubt, throw it out. If it looks a little funky, just get rid of it and start over. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to make yourself sick. And that's it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them best as I can. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye!